Right now, I want to come back to my panel here as we discuss that controversial election laws that were passed by the Senate yesterday. And we were speaking about the way forward now for CORD, which has been opposed to this bill. Constitutionally, what can they do now going forward?
Before I come to that,
right.
and I am not going to speak on behalf of CORD, one, if we strip the Senate or even members of Parliament of their, their sentiments, law is reason free from any emotions.
Right.
So these emotional outbursts of Bure Kabesa and my friend here say this is something that has been conceived out of State House. Those are factual issues, and some of us plead ignorance. He knows that constitutionally there is the office of the majority leader, and the office of the minority leader. Whenever there is supposed to be a special sitting, the majority leader or minority leader would bring that business. And if it satisfies the speaker that it is something that needs a special sitting,
right,
then there would be a special sitting. That is the constitutions. This was an amendment that was brought by Honorable Aden Duale, who is the majority leader.
Right.
Well, I didn't see the president come to the National Assembly or the Senate, but that is neither here nor there. Allow me to put certain things into perspective. Ghana, that is an emerging democracy in Africa. In 2012, they tried to use electronic device that had so many challenges.
Right.
Even in 2016, they just come from elections and there were certain problems with the electronic device, and they had to resort to manual voting as a backup, as complementary to that BVR. In Kenya in 2013, that was the thing. Even in progress democracies like US, remember in the US, you need not be registered as a voter to vote. You only need your ID to vote. And part of the reason is that political rights, such as the right of voting, is First Amendment right, and no one can deny you that right or limit that right on any basis.
Right.
And now, in the US in 2008, in the state of Virginia, there were issues to do with the electronic device, and they had to resort to manual voting because there are problems.
What CORD has been agitating for is to have, yes, a backup system,
yes,
but still an electronic backup system. Do we see this kind of a practice that has been, practiced elsewhere?
What CORD is saying is like, I tell you why work in KTN, and I am not offering you any alternative. They have not said what this electronic backup.
All right, and this will be, because this is your last. We're out of time.
Yes.
This will be your last statement before I come to you, Norman.
Yes, allow me to say this.
Right.
Under the Constitution, and particularly Article 81, that you cannot disenfranchise a voter on his political right to vote, and even Article 83. When you look at the interpretation of the Constitution, that is Article 259. One, you interpret the Constitution in a manner that will respect human rights and fundamental and basic rights, such as the ones that are in the Bill of Rights.
Right.
And Norman here knows so well that any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution, pursuant to Article 2.4, would be void and null to the extent of that inconsistency. So any law that aspires to limit the right of a voter or the right of a candidate, and he knows that CORD had gone to court on these campaign rules, and Justice Aburili had pronounced himself on this, and said this, that certain election laws, like having campaign rules, campaign kitty, those ones are unconstitutional because they aspire to limit the right of adult citizens to vote or even to vie for public office.
Okay, we really have to hold that thought now because we're out of time. I'll just let you have a closing statement in response to that as we wrap up this conversation.
First of all, Sharon, I don't think my friend Jack has properly socialized with the questions that we are discussing on the whole question of election process. It's very evident from his submissions that he is a little bit at sea. The first issue is that he's given an example of Ghana, that Ghana resorted to money in the 2016 election. I would like actually to inform that in Kuni North, where the EVIDs failed, the Electoral Commission of Ghana postponed the election in Kuni North to the following day until the proper EVIDs were provided and the election took place. So it is not true that Ghana resorted to a manual.
There were issues with electronic voting system.
To a manual process.
Yes.
That
Okay.
is factual. You can check. To
Norman, we have to
attempt
wrap up.
To attempt to assert that you will be limiting somebody's right to vote as provided under Article 38 if that person is denied the right to vote through identification is actually to stretch the imagination of interpretation of the Constitution. Because the Constitution...
maybe as
the
we wrap-
Constitution
right.
Let me just wrap up. I want to contextualize that issue. The Constitution itself says you have the right to vote. But the Constitution says you will exercise that right subject to you being a registered voter.
All right.
And you will exercise that right if you can actually also be properly identified.
But the Constitution
That
does
is
not
a
say
good
that
place to
you
finish
must
this.
only be
So that-
registered
so that right-
electronically.
This is a
That
debate
right is not
we cannot
open-ended.
finish with the framework of time that we have.
What is the way
I-
forward for CORD?
I-
What
I
is
already
the
stated.
We shall.
what the way
I think he
forward for
stated the
CORD
way
is, yes.
forward. So let's
and
allow us to
the
wrap
way
up
forward
this
for the
discussion.
country. The way forward for
We
the
shall-
country is for us to move on.
We shall have that
already have,
discussion.
We are not going
reforms.
to that business of accept and move on, Jack.
No,
All right.
That is
I was saying-
2013.
I think we'll continue this conversation off the cuff. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for giving the insights this morning. Thank you, Norman. So, no doubt, a very controversial issue that continues to develop and to take form, and we shall keep unpacking this because Kenyans are also striving to understand then what next. What does this really mean in terms of what they really want, which is a free and fair and just election in August. So that is where we wrap up this discussion, but it continues